Coaches, good morning. Coach Gibbs here in the lab with former Tennessee Titan Blaine Bishop, and we hit some bumps in the road trying to get this thing rolling. But as football players do, we find a way to get it done. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule, Blaine, to drop some knowledge on us today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on, PJ, Coach. It's an honor just to have this opportunity. You're a teacher of young men, and that's probably ultimately a lot tougher than maybe even playing pro football. So I applaud all the guys out there coaching the youth. I do that. I've done that a couple times at different high schools. Really fun, gratifying, and to see those guys prepare. But what I love is, you could really teach some guys to be aggressive and hungry and have fun out there and have a successful team. It may not even have a Division I player. And that's what I love about it, because I was one of those guys. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think today, and I'm sure you've seen it, change so much from your playing career and being involved. And a lot of it is, like D1 or bust. But now, the kids got to understand that really it's just everybody. If somebody wants to play somewhere, there's always an opportunity. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you're going to finish, but you got to get started somewhere. And I think too, for me, being in high school for over 20 years, coaching, it's something where it's getting the parents to understand that as well. Obviously NIL now today is playing a huge role in it. And then understanding like there's certain levels that doesn't take eligibility away, but some want to hear it, some don't want to hear it. But I think something for you, like what was the biggest lesson that you learned, I guess, playing in college, getting to the collegiate level, and then obviously having the opportunity to play in the NFL for as long as you did? Is there one or two different things that you can kind of point out?
Yeah, I think there were some pivotal points there, Coach, for me in high school. And, there's a lot of players that were just like me, kind of just the smallest 5'9", 5'10" guy, 175 and running back, defensive back. And, you make all state, all city, all metro and all the honors and everything else. And you think you're going to have an opportunity to play, at least at a targeted school. Division I was my goal. And sometimes, you think you're doing everything you can and you put in a lot of hard work, and that just never comes to fruition. You never get an offer by a Division I program. So that was gut wrenching, and that's why I say that was one of the pivotal moments where where I could say that was a failure to a certain extent. And when I say that, I'm talking about I couldn't achieve my goal, but that was out of my control. So what I did was, okay, think about it. What can I control? So what I was getting was offers from, Division II and Division III schools. So I decided that I was going to go to a Division II school my freshman year. And then I get to determine based off my play if I'm actually good enough to go to another school or go to a Division I program. And so I went to St. Joseph's College there in Rensselaer, Indiana. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. Went to Cathedral High School, prominent high school there. Still NFL guys coming out of there from back in the era in Florida, Mark Clayton, to all the way to me, to Scary Terry McClellan with the Commanders now at wide receiver. So we've got guys all over the place. So it was a prominent program. So it wasn't like I wasn't getting visibility, but it was always about my size. So I went to Division II program and made Division II All-American. Went back to my high school coach and said, am I a Division I football player now? Could you reach out to some schools? And he reached out to Indiana State, Ball State, and IU. And, it kind of gave me the parameters of what the opportunity would be to play. And I chose Ball State because I thought I would get a chance to play. Back then, the rules were a little bit different. You had to sit out a year regardless if you're moving up or down or around. And so I sat there and practiced the whole entire season, saw what was there, got a little bit of juice from that and confidence, playing all over the place, on a scout team. And then next thing you know, they offered me, and by the way, I was a walk-on for a semester. So they still said you had to walk on. And I then earned a scholarship. They gave me a scholarship going into the spring. and it said I could be a third string running back, and or I could be competing to start. And so that kind of all of that transpiring kind of had I had this mindset that I was always going to be against the odds, and that was okay. I felt comfortable in that lane. But when he told me I wanted to be running back, and by the way, my heart and soul was always going to be a running back, but I wasn't, dumb enough to say, well, I'm still a running back. I was like, okay, I want to play more than anything else. So, Coach Rick Minter, whose son just got the head job there, Jesse Minter at the Baltimore Ravens, was our DC at the time. He's coached all over the place, Notre Dame, Cincinnati head coach, and everything. And he was like, well, you can compete to start. I looked at him, and I can't even believe I said this at like 19. I said, with who?
Mhm.
Because they had two young guys that were starting, and it wasn't kind of being because I wasn't a cocky guy. It was just it came to me like with who I've watched all these. There's none of these guys in my mind was better than me. And he put his arm around me and said, "Don't you worry about anything." And reason why I said that because I was a little concerned. Those guys were the same year as me, and they were good guys. They were really good guys. So
Mhm.
I didn't want. He said, "No, we're going to figure out a way. Everybody's going to be playing." That's basically what he said. And so it all worked out. So those failures and hurdles where most people go the opposite direction, like I could have easily, instead of going to Division 2, said, nah, I'm gonna go, let's say to Notre Dame, which was my dream school, and I'm gonna just be a regular student. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna even play football. That was the easy choice. My football career is over. It was great. I had a heck of a time. Won state junior year, came close senior year. Uh, Instead, I decided to take that battle on. I ran to the adversity and the failure to prove that in my mind, I was right. And it would have been gratifying regardless if I just got to run down on special teams. I was going to win regardless in my eyes to prove that I was good enough. And I saw some of the guys and a lot of guys I played against before. So I felt very comfortable against, some of these guys that have all the measurables,
Sure.
all the athleticism. I didn't have the measurables. Oh, I wasn't quite fast enough, quite tall enough. So all those things came into play. So then went to Ball State and made all conference there, captain a couple years, been a captain at every level I've ever played at, and never was the best player on the team, any level that I played except little leagues. so
Right. Right.
so that kind of happened. So I had some leadership skills that were built in already because I did all these leadership development programs as a youth, which I was involved in a lot through the Boys and Girls Club. So yeah, and that all kind of worked in my favor, and then. I eventually got invited to the combine, the Senior Bowl, the Blue Gray, did solid, well, not as good as I wanted at the combine. I mean, I 42 and a half at the vert, so I could 360 dunk, but I still only ran a 4.5. I wasn't good enough coming from Ball State. So I got drafted last round, 214th pick. Got the opportunity, and then you make the most of it. That was another hurdle, though. When I got there, I'm like, man, these guys don't need me. I mean, they have plenty of DBs. They drafted 3 the year before, 2. I mean, I'm like, man, I, I started trying to figure out like how the heck I'm gonna make this team.
Mhm.
So I had to change a little bit of who I was, which is really funny. Every time I see all my high school friends, and I go back on when we talk all the time, and you know, I became this, this hitter guy, and the conversation happened when I was talking to my mom, and I was like, man, this is a lot harder. This may be the last time I played football. This is in training camp in my rookie year, and I like, hey, this is really hard. Guys are really good, really strong, powerful. And she says something that resonated with me. She says, this whole time when you were coming out of high school, you've never talked like this, but why do you care now?
Mhm.
And I said, what do you mean? She says, you've already won. You got into camp. So who gives a you know what? And
Mhm.
that kind of took all the pressure of thinking that I had to do to just make the team, made me play, I'm going to say free. And from that point on, I never looked back and I always played that way. And then after getting my butt kicked a couple times, which very rarely happened, coming out and going to high school and college. But you get to the pros, all of a sudden you realize, hey man, there's some dudes that's really good. And I got sick and tired of getting thrown to the turf, and it brought another level to me, which I continue to rise, and I did, and play special teams, love to row, and then continue to be a smart student of the game. That was my ultimate strength, was my foresight of just being a football player, but my instincts and studying film really propelled me to be, I would say, a notch better than maybe my athleticism would have drawn to. It was given to me, and it played to I played to that too. And so I got opportunity in week 10 to start, and then the rest is kind of history there, kind of moving forward from there.
So playing in which I consider one of the toughest eras in football, what made your guys' defenses in Tennessee, I guess, so physical and respected throughout the whole league?
Yeah, wow, man, it took well, we had once we got accumulated some veterans and some, our guys, my group that came in, and guys maybe a little bit ahead of me and after me. Once we got a group of leadership and we had leaders at each position group, that kind of helped prepare, because then the leaders then could all kind of talk. And then when we had an issue with a player, or maybe a guy's trying to play a little more selfish, let's say, in one regard, or making sure they stay on point of, hey man, you going out partying a little too much, or we hearing a lot of stuff, or whatever it was. I think once that happened, and then Greg Williams was, man, he learned a lot from Buddy Ryan, who's drafted me, and man, he didn't put up crap, and he would say all these crazy phrases, man, and it would just kind of get us riled up. I can't say some of the things he would say, but he was a ball buster, I say that, and we grew together and we got tight. We would do things together. We would go out to eat together. We'd go bowling together. I think that chemistry, once you develop that and everybody's comfortable in their own skin, I think that's really what propelled us. But we were going to be, let's say, guys are going to put on our, I guess, captain's hat or bell hats, and say, we're just going to go to work. We weren't big time talkers. And, nobody will talk about it. But I mean, we finished first in the league in 2000 in a lot of categories, just like the Ravens did that same year, except they had a lot of talkers and they had Ray Lewis. But when you look at the stats and the numbers, we were as good, or maybe in some areas better. But naturally, they won the Super Bowl and they beat us at home in the playoffs, so they get all the accolades that they deserve. But we were tough, gritty, and we didn't talk. I mean, we didn't take any stuff from anybody. I mean, anybody. That team and the team after that actually was even better, the defensive team. So I think it's just players eventually getting to the point where you're coaching amongst each other. That's we're expecting things that's going to happen, and we're talking about it in practice, and then how we're going to do things. That's not the coach. The coach puts the scheme and the system in. But now, once we start seeing the formations and everything that's coming at us, this is what we're going to do here. Hey, we're going to rotate this. Hey, this ain't, that's not part of the system. That's part of us playing within the system. And once we got to that level, we felt like we were unstoppable. We were going to be able to make a play. Yeah.
So obviously you talked about Greg Williams, and obviously one of the most respected defensive coaches, in the NFL. What was it like? You had a head coach that played for, Buddy Ryan and, the 85 Bears. So what was it like playing for Jeff Fisher?
Oh, man, he was a player's coach. He was easygoing. He had to sometimes keep Greg Williams in line. But, that part of it, his leadership skills, I think, really helped propel us. And he knew what he wanted. And what was going to take to be successful. He wanted to be just like most defensive coordinators. He wanted to ground and pound with Eddie George, McNair, and he wanted to play solid to great defense. And that's where it all started, the foundation, especially when we moved from Houston to Tennessee, and we had a lot of middling years of 8-8, and all that. So to get to the next level, that's when McNair finally came to fruition, being Aaron McNair, and that kind of took us to the next level. But playing with Coach Jeff Fisher, that was the easy part, man. You could just go to him about anything. So being a player's coach and a former player, that helped out a lot. I had that my entire career. You don't realize what that is until you talk to the other players on other teams, man. So I probably took that for a little bit for granted. Yeah.
So, thinking back to the year when you guys made it to the Super Bowl, you guys had that run to the Super Bowl. What moments from that season, are there any specific moments that stand out during that run?
Well, I could start off with we didn't know what we were going into that season. We were 8-8. We got and we didn't know we got Javon Curse that year, the freak, and he was a converted kind of linebacker. He had never played in 3-point stands. Let's just say that. And when they had him in the 3-point stand, the defensive end, I mean, he was getting destroyed in preseason and practice, especially when they, understand this, when they doubled down with the tight end tackle. I mean, he was getting pushed. and I mean, Greg Williams was MFing him every freaking day in practice, in the film room. I was like, "Hey man, Greg, man, you may want to chill out, man. We got." He said, "Oh no, we getting close." We had Coach Washburn was the D-line coach, and he was real funny and a great pass rush specialist. And so eventually, come the third preseason game, we start seeing signs of, he's figuring it out. Now, naturally, they didn't give him the freak for nothing. This guy ran a 4.4, and he was just, everything is. He was doing backflips at the combine at 6'5". This was just craziness. So there was nothing like him. And so, first game versus the Bengals was kind of his. I think it was the coming out party. I think it was the Bengals. I forget who it was, and he got a sack, caused fumble, and we literally, as time went on, 3-4 games, we had to start learning as defensive backs. How to play because we weren't being around the ball because he was getting back there so fast. And so there were mental hurdles there with us as players on defense. The ball was coming out faster. Now we had to figure out, are they going to double them? Are they going to triple them? Are they going to chip them? Those things. So those adjustments as a defensive back, because I kept being like, man, dang, I need to stop backpedaling. I'm not going. The ball's coming out. So those were the adjustments. I thought him being the last piece to the puzzle was what galvanized us and took us to the next level. We had some really good players, Kenny Holmes from the U. We had guys over Josh Evans, Joe Salavea, Jason Fisk, blue collar John Thornton. We had guys. We had rotational pieces, Keith Embray, Kevin Carter. Even we had guys. But he. Not by himself, but he made things a lot easier for everybody else, and everybody else then start making plays because everybody was paying attention to him. And so that kind of started that defense to being to that level. And then I would say the confidence grew, and then we played the Rams in week 6 at home on grass, naturally, and we beat them. And eventually we get to them in the Super Bowl. I guess the third part probably is the AFC Championship game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were pretty much, they were undefeated, and we were the only team to beat them twice. Naturally, we were in the same division, so we had to play them twice, but we ended up having to play them 3 times to get to the Super Bowl to play the Rams, and we beat them, and that is really hard. And they only had lost 3 games, and all 3 of them was to us. So that game there, I wouldn't even ever predicted that you could beat somebody 3 times, especially who they had. I think they have Hall of Fame players in Fred Taylor and Jimmy Smith. Those guys were elite. The whole game plan was trying to contain those guys, and that was almost impossible. And I was one of the guys doubling Jimmy Smith. So, so I thought that, hey man, I want Jimmy. I wanted to double him. I wanted to be where the ball was going. And Fred Taylor was just, he was special. He was fast. He could block. He could catch. There was nothing like jump cut. There was nothing that he wasn't really good at. I'm still baffled that he's not in the Hall of Fame, but I think sometimes it's part of your success as your team too. So beating them 3 times was, oh man, that was tough. And once that happened, I thought, man, this is going to be interesting. Oh, by the way, I cannot forget the Music City Miracle. Yeah, the Music City
Hmm.
Miracle. And I have to admit, I'm standing on the sideline. That was the second playoff game, but I was our first because we had to bye because we were 13-3. Is we defensively dominated that game, but our offense kind of clutched because the Bills had a really good defense too,
Yep.
and they were top five. And I thought the game was over. Really, I'm standing on the sideline, and people can see my face when they threw the ball. Frank Wycheck threw it. I really believed that if we score here on this play, that we practice, everybody practiced that play, even
Hmm.
myself. And then it worked. I thought then we were a team of destiny. And I said that to the media and everybody at the time because stuff like that doesn't happen. You know, in sports and being participating and coaching, when stuff like that happens, man, you just like, yeah, we had some football gods on our side right there,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, so that kind of I thought we were going to go all the way and win it. Yeah, that was no doubt in my mind. Yeah, and lucky for us, they the Bills and I was elated, and nothing against either one of the guys, but they had benched Doug Flutie to go with Rob Johnson because they had paid him. He was not really benched. He had started the last couple games because Rob was hurt. And
Yep.
they came back and put Rob Johnson in. Well, for a blitzing defense, we know X marks the spot. We know where the quarterback's going to be. Well, Doug Flutie, you didn't know where he was going to be. Like that,
Right.
yeah, that was going to be an issue because he had scrambling ability and he was a dynamo. He was special. And those guys you just don't count out. He was just one of those guys you go, man, he's going against all the odds. There's no way he should be doing this. I mean, so he was special, and so they had Rob Johnson, and he had a big arm and cannon, but wasn't a mover. So we got after him.
That
Yeah, so
was,
that
yeah, I still remember watching it on TV, and my brother-in-law, my middle brother-in-law, is from Buffalo, so I tend not to bring that up
yeah
anytime we talk about
yeah
football.
it is. It's
Uh,
unfortunate. Bills have some bad luck at the Super
they've
Bowl.
had,
Some places can't.
yeah,
I
they've
feel
had
for 'em. Yeah,
a rough,
Andre Reed at Thurman Thomas. Yeah, but they had some really good players, man.
yeah, oh yeah. So kind of looking at as a DB, what are some of the key fundamentals you believe, like players that are going to watch this, maybe some younger coaches like me who still want to learn the game. What are some things that you think they should really focus on mastering rather than the schematics?
Yeah, I think this is undervalued, and just because where you're at it in high school. But I would say getting the players is a combination for me because this is what kind of helped me when I got in the league because the guys are so good, and so I became a technician. I was not a technician when I got to the league. I'm a play football. I'm a football player. You got that guy, and that's kind of how it still is, now. But the guys are a lot bigger. But and and so I became a technician, and I understood the strengths and weaknesses of the call to help me not feel like I was out there on an island because I was a corner mostly till I got to the league and halfway through my rookie year. But so you need to understand where your help was, and even if you're outside leverage and you're a technician and you give up an inside route, that's okay. As long as you bang bang, you make the tackle, try to make a play on the ball, get a PBU. But they cannot catch an outside route. So if you
Right.
have outside leverage, vice versa, if you're an inside edge and you're trying to make sure they don't catch an inside. So sometimes it would work out that way or not. You outside leverage and you're giving up the slant to the linebacker supposed to be your inside help and he's not there. So you just got to play on the top shoulder. So I think anticipation as well as being a technician. And that really, I had a coach, Jerry Gray, who was he was a former player too. That was my DB coach, and he was like, Blaine, after my rookie year, he says, look, you play with passion, you got all the tools. You need to become a technician. You need to work on your technique when we're in coverage. So because I was playing slot guys, and those guys are quick as lightning. And so
Yep.
he said, you must understand where your help is. So that whole off season, outside of all the other things I was doing, I worked on being a technician. And at that time, it was Steve Jackson, who was a current player, but he lived in Houston. We were somewhat the same size, and I felt like my skill sets were like his, and he was a great technician. So I worked out with him the whole off season, and then next thing you know, I became a technician with the passion and the smarts and anticipation, and it just all came together for me, and it really worked to my advantage. And there's some other things there, like I had a photographic memory and I would watch film for hours. So
Okay.
that helped me too.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that helps. Which I guess I know you mentioned Jimmy Smith, Fred Taylor, and I agree with you. I think Fred Taylor is probably one of the more, I don't want to say forgotten uh, offensive weapons from that time. But so other than those two guys, a wide receiver, or offensive player that gave your guys the toughest matchup.
Well, naturally, I would say they were number one. And then all the guys that are, I first got in the league, I played at the end, and I felt like it was pretty awesome. Guys that I looked up to and watched on TV. So I got the tail end of those guys. So I got the version of Joe Montana with the Chiefs and Marcus Allen and still Jerry Rice. I mean, Tim Brown. So I'm catching the tail end of these guys' career. And it's just kind of hard to say, and then T.O. in his prime, these guys are phenomenal. It's kind of hard to pick one, Jerome Bettis. I mean, these guys,
Yeah.
they play with power and quickness, and so it was as far as tight ends. You got Shannon Sharp. I mean, there's interesting because sometimes in the game, and even if you're a Hall of Fame player, there's certain guys that are just average, solid players in the league that just give you problems just because they will. I mean, it's somebody's got a guy, whether it's an offensive tackle versus pass rusher, all those guys. So it just happens that way. So it was. I got to play. Man, we get to play Peyton Manning Peyton Manning and Harrison and Edgerrin James. Yeah. Yeah, and then Reggie Wayne. I mean, it was, and then I was from Indianapolis, so it became personal for me. You didn't draft me. I would find any little edge. Oh, now by the way, I forgot to say that was something I would do every week. The coaches really would would laugh at me, but I would find a way because I realized playing in a game, I would find a reason not to like that team every week. And it was mentally draining, but I had to do it because here's what happened. I was in a game and I'm not going to say names, but they illegally blocked me and hit me on my legs. And I'm on the other side of the field and I'm just jogging, like, throttling down, the guys falling down way on the other side of the field. You hit me and clip me up. And, I was like, oh, dang, man, you try to take me out. Like, I could have torn my ACL right there. And so from that, in that game, I'm running around like a banshee. I mean, and I'm trying everything in my power because I refused to ever get a penalty. That was kind of a selfish play. Try to get back. Well, I was going to do it in between the line. And I saw how I was running around after I was really upset and perturbed that somebody would intentionally, in my mind, do something like that. So when I turned on the tape and I saw that, I said, I got to play like that every time, every game from the start. And so I mentally sometimes would just make up stuff. I mean, just literally, oh man, that was the guy who jacked my aunt or my mom, or it was just whatever I could to get an edge because I felt like I had to have it. I had to. That yeah. And if I was gonna, and when I turn on the tape, if I don't see myself like I saw myself that one time like that in every game, then it was unacceptable in my eyes. And the coaches, they said, "Uh-oh, it's Wednesday. Come Thursday, Blaine's gonna turn up and figure out what's going on, and he's gonna be walking around here upset and not happy we play whoever it is." So yeah, that was kind of my thing. Yeah. And I really bought into that. It was kind of a mental thing that I would do. And some people thought it was funny. I guess the coaches did, but I didn't do a lot of talking about it. But I'm sure the players knew because I was like, man, they're not gonna get up. It could have been something as simple, PJ, as getting up and the guy doing first down after you tackle him. It could have been. I mean, literally anything.
Yeah. So I guess just kind of to wrap this up, and this has been great. For coaches that are going to listen to the podcast, what are some things you believe in youth and high school programs should emphasize more? Anything more defensively?
I just, I may be missing the boat. I've coached probably 3 or 4 years ago, just 2 years ago, really. And I just see the guys now to get to the league, and I watch college, especially SEC, Big Ten, and I just don't see the love of the game and the passion. I don't see, like, fundamentally, like, you have outside contain. I'm gonna use this as an example. And you go inside. Okay, you can be inside and then get back out. But it's almost like they didn't understand that if I go inside and I don't make this play, now the guy runs around the corner. That almost should never happen in an NFL game, where the guy just runs around the corner like he's in high school and goes untouched. Mm-hmm. So I just think fundamentally guys aren't understanding technically what is asked of the systems. They've relied so much on their athleticism, and it is phenomenal. Every generation of players are better athletes. I just think they're not better football players. So I think the only way to help that, to me, is to be fundamentally sound and force it and master the fundamentals. And I think they get bored with that. I think, they think that that's not sexy, as far as football players. But I think, and then start, maneuvering within that. So I see that a lot, because I go like, dang, in my era, if I was playing in today, how would I play? And I would say, well, just on brains alone, I think I could compete. But eventually with the one-on-one matchup, at some point I'm going to lose. But in a play-in, play-out, I could still compete with these guys, just because the knowledge of the game. I don't think they're. I think they're phenomenal athletes that play for maybe not for the love of the game. Yeah.
Well, listen, Blaine, I appreciate you taking the time, man. I'm glad we got to finally get this done. And obviously, I grew up watching you play, so this is
really, you. Oh, okay. You never said that.
Yeah, man, really, really cool for me. But thank you very much. This has been great, and I want you to enjoy your weekend, man. And hopefully, we can do this again.
Yeah, you do the same, and I'll make sure I'll send you my my cell number. That way, you keep in touch with text back and forth.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no doubt. Especially when I come down to Florida, man. You got to show me around.
Absolutely, man. West Coast is the best side, brother.
All right, man. Take care, Coach. Bye bye.